what I'm going to do, I've just sold a book to Spuyten Duyvil, and it's a poems with pictures by Nancy Goldring, and it's called School of Nite, N-I-T-E, and I have the mock-up of the book here, and soon it will appear in the real world. So it's not very long, so I just thought I'd read all the poems, which would take me about, I don't know, I'm thinking about 25 minutes, maybe less. And if you want to come up and see the beautiful pictures later, and you can't see them from there, people can leaf through the pages if they want to. Okay. A ghazal is a Middle Eastern form which I sometimes abuse. In other words, I don't write real ghazals. They're all quasi or faux ghazals. An idea which I got from Garcia Lorca, of course. This is called ghazal in N because the rhyming line, the rhyming line doesn't exactly rhyme, but each of them ends in N. Each couplet ends with an N. Not tied and breathed on somewhere when, in the desert under the proper moon, always leave some fruit behind, like spoor, pomegranate, blood, orange, mangosteen. I raised the wind, but it blew back in my face, burnt my harvest, 10-year wages of sin. Summer afternoon, meander, cellar door. I never find you, a kind of anti-zen. If I could leave myself to you in my will, I'd gladly consider death and resurrection. Can you hear me in the back?
Yeah.
Okay, I like to do it without a microphone. It's part of my Luddite faith. Hello, Shiv.
Hi.
This is a non-ghazal. I want to tell you of my love, but can find no hidden place, because all time and space is under surveillance. My data body is too big, fatter than 1,000 Afghans or Africans, and you are too small, like a germ in the bloodstream, to chase with any nano submarine. Through the empire of delight, into the catastrophic basin of whatever happens, alas, we failed to expropriate the bank in 1870. You see the result, the upshot, the bottom line. Sufism was once a reality without a name, and now is a name without reality. Somewhere you're blackmailing me, but I never got the note. Pseudo-ghazal begins with a quote from Edith Piaf. Je ne regrette rien. Decent reticence allows us not to name you in this safe Sufistic allegory. Poem as dead letter office, lost found bureau of goodbyes, telephone line to heaven on high, long since disconnected for unpaid bills. True lovers desire separation, mystical wine fermented from sour grapes. A stoic bolus that chokes us with nostalgia, words as leeches for throbbing brows. This is sort of the main poem that relates to the title. It's called Ode to Nite, N-I-T-E. And it begins with a quote from James Thomson, The Seasons of 1726, from the section called Winter, where he says, "Let me associate with the low-browed night." Has 5 sections. 1. Lead us backwards into the dark. Lunar dynasty, bombs placed delicately. Restore the Ming, that poisonous subliminal hum. Darkness breeds superstition to protect itself like an opera cape. 2. Flame, when it's blown out, goes back into the treasure cave of universal phlogiston, leaving split-second antoptic signature known to adepts as the salamander. A moth appears around the dying wick, becomes a mouth, rebus, whispering, welcome to the dark. 3. Fanatical Luddites blow up power plants to liberate the Queen of Nite, hurl deliberate poison in the reservoir of rational discourse, LSD in the punch of sustainable development. 4. Cerulean mythemes, unique as snowflakes, fall in this little glass bulb, hermetically sealed with the scene of children lost in pine forest. Gingerbread house, or Queen of Nite, whose white roots smell obscene as Japanese radishes, or shovel full of half-frozen dirt. 5. Old Nite, a face of moonbeams and illusions. Old mole, little gentleman in gray velvet, king over the water, eternal pretender, old moth, old mouth, all night panegyric diner, blinking on-off blue neon, room full of white moths, photographs by pinhole camera. Gone fishing for coral in the mirror of your precious ablutions, smelling moonflowers where the old frog jumped in. Oh, sorry, 2 more sections. 6 and 7. The logothete spins a world of words, then lives in it. Once in Byzantium, this was a salaried position. Henry Darger, Charles Fourier, crusted with jewels like lobster mole with pink champagne. Mouths filled with gold dust, moth dust, fairy gold, dead leaves, graveyard dirt. And I, Marie Laveau, voodoo queen of this poem, proclaim you my sexual zombie. Let me be the political guru, inculcating iconodules into the cult of the secluded imam. 7, and last. Prostrate yourself to Nite's vast cube, queen of the night, heaviest of atars, nightingale drunk on vintage port, Khagani's Malarmayan marmalade, venom, phosphorescent words murmured by mummies, in pan-sophic, pan-spermic cinemascope. Rattle, rattle, organ music swells, the mystic word, Pharaoh's phallus, our favorite hieroglyph. I also write pseudo-sonnets, 14-liners. Past erupts into present like hot lava, blurting from underground volcano vents. Yellowstone geyser from pharaonic caverns, where it wintered over, hibernated bearishly in a dim dream of itself, bloodless and wan. 10,000 top opera hats spurt into the sky, silky ravens with diamonds in their beaks. Blam! The whole library of Alexandria rains papyrus like confetti at an astronaut's parade. A crack opens in the sidewalk, and pedestrians hurtle down into 1934, 1911, 1881, crawl out bruised, dazed, weeping with emotion. Next day, all the cracks are sealed. Mass amnesia, the anomaly erased, reports suppressed, and only a few remember but say nothing. But even so, one has to admit that lingering post-eruption dust makes for spectacular sunsets over New Jersey land of the dead. This next poem has 3 sections. It's called Mortal Coil. It's dedicated to Phong Bui because he, many years ago, I guess it was 1991, he asked me to write an anti-war poem for the first Iraqi incursion. And this was it. Mortal Coil. Part 1. Bingo. The tablets lost in the bombing of my kitchen, cracked, illegible, limbs and bulls exploding and gods drifting overhead like turkey vultures. The barmaid, Siduri, the goddess of barmaids, says, "Take it easy. Life is short. Have another beer." Proof that the Sumerians came from outer space. 2. Ptomaine in Mesopotamia. Baghdad, you had the youthful but ivoried panache of oval cigarettes, soporific as naps on divans in winter solariums, listening to Kulthum on Radio Cairo, yet another naturally inadequate transcription of unwritten and wordless sighs. There is no repetition in the realm of smoke. Satan invented the exact copy. The future is fixed. The past is always changing. So throw away your rosary. Stain your prayer carpet with wine, or so says a usually reliable source known to enjoy the confidence of the Sultan of the Unseen. I've wanted to tell you of my love since 1964, but every time I take up my pen, you die in another war. 3. The death of Abu Nuwas. I wasted my life because I never learned Sumerian. Why bother to hold together rather than dissipating statistically? Why this halfway house between form and chaos? Deltas look like smoke. Stones move. Metals feel fatigue. The 2 angels of industry guard the gates like cracking towers, symbolized by the twin columns, Yakin and Boaz. Now we are smokier, cloudier like objects that might be particles or waves or perhaps morphogenic fields with personalities, but unhinged from time. A bureaucracy with ramifications going back 6,000 years. The same offices now buried deep beneath tells long given over to dust and cluster bombs. But we are safely buried. We sit at our desks in dandruffy fezzes, and behind us stretch endless sub-basements stuffed with government bump dating back to cuneiform, blood, and clay. 60 centuries gives a mere 1,800 generations. We know who you are, and what your family owes, how many babies to Moloch. The archives, cough, go back to Gilgamesh, Ur of the Chaldees, and we are wraiths you can see through sometimes. Our features shift like smoke. Would you do just as well for all the wars that came after? It's all in the same place. As a friend of mine said, civilization began in Mesopotamia and it looks like it'll end there. Small poem here. Mistook the leaves for doves, fluttering down in an alien benediction, like the perfect headache remedy, like a remediation. Overhead, a sensation of vast oppressiveness spoils the day for those of us with psychic sinuses, as if expecting a slow shower of guys in bowler hats, with tightly rolled umbrellas and identical briefcases to ooze down out of the swollen impasto of bureaucratic clouds like fecal Rene Magritte. But no, the day smiles vapidly, and those kind of pigeons are extinct. Sonnet. In the morning there was mourning. In evening lands there's even more. And flying between them the silver dove disturbs the inner ear and nauseates the inner eye. All that space erased like matter transmission, tedious and paranoid. Will your molecules be reassembled at the terminal? And what about your subconsciousness? A gyroscope falters in your dizzied heart. In the window a map unscrolls its abstractions. Put me down, you shout, as if to some giant. At this speed, even blue borders blur. A voice from the adytum intones, there must be a place where spinning heads can root and increase in grace. Song. Am I blue? You'd be too, in this glorious liberal age that's overcome all taboos. Poor in shekels, rich in scruples, or vice versa. Woe unto Babylon! Am I to betray my class interests? We alone are intelligent, which must explain why nothing we do changes anything, as if we were ghosts. Looks of actual darkness, silence from which alone can any bird speak. What a rebuke. The veil of Isis. In the saturated sky, some crows are quarreling. The field is surrounded on all sides by scraggly woods. If you opened the curtain, all you'd discover would be more umber, dull, green, gray, and maybe the same crows you'd already seen. The Last Secret Place on Earth, prefaced by H. Dalai Lama. Guided tours. Secrets of the town dump, secret by default. No monetary value, a mere weed, a big fat Zen zero, a mere sparrow of a fact. The new innuendo, a secret shared with no one is no more secret than a secret shared with everyone. Fourth-class postage, the panoply of spycraft, Harpocrates, Harpo-Marxism, the librarians. No more musical chairs, that grim exercise in social dread, that heraldry of the unseen, that unattended package. Un-terrorists explode non-bombs and retreat wearing backward shoes, those trick babies, backwards with a broom erasing traces, a misguided tour. We have no book, we deny it. We're a finger pointing at the moon. We're a finger pointing away from the moon. Excuse me, that's what I meant to say. Please correct that in your copies. Fibonacci's airstream. Fibonacci's curve describes the snail. Stop me if you've heard this before. Or any involute whose spiral delineates the exo-esoteric axis and resultant topology of a hermit crab. Hypersensitive, introverted, our St. Anthony Abbot's convoluted sluggish monk's hood, from beneath which 3 lurid eyes like embers palpate the sensorium, our chitinous nebular Baudelarian slime ball. Van Gogh's ear, or a motile nipple of a Baroque frog Madonna via slow-mo dervish rotation. Romantic ruin with an extreme dimension, with an extra dimension, turned in on itself and tucked, as real estate developers like to say, away from modernity's stresses. Minor flood. This is about New Paltz, where, it floods every year, covers the whole plain on the other side of the river. No more thunder, the flood recedes. We'll have to comb our hair and get dressed. Lose all sense of place. Stop being stupid, depressed, pretending to be poor. Old, cracked, living on village edge, down by railroad tracks in wetlands. After equinox in some unnatural dusk of graveyards and Queen Anne's lace. No more lost in the 19th century fantasies. Traffic flows again. All murk is dispersed. The dangerous angel of rain recedes over mountains with a burden of cloud. Song. I say silver ink, like a parasemantic mantra. Are you convinced? I say sphinx, because everyone like you is an Egyptologist. I say snakes and ladders, a magic square for Wednesday's child. I say linen sheets, starched with moonlight, and a dream book under your pillow. Let's return to Hollow Earth via the giant ascenseur at Mount Erebus, all brass antique, pneumatique, like a Belle Epoque ballroom sinking beneath Antarctic slag. Slowly, slowly, not to get the bends. Suddenly the Art Nouveau windows disclose the panorama of rapturous deep, a cavern so high and vast it vanishes in the distance. Blue waterfalls fall for miles and break up on crags in spumes of mist, clouds lit by vast artificial globes set into cave walls by unmentionable science. I realized the other day that I believe the Earth is both flat and hollow, which is, kind of difficult. But anyway, I've decided to embrace it.
Strike two.
Rebus. Virginia creepers begin to glow with their own self-light, shoals of tiny phosphorescent shrimp in the Indian Ocean. The whole point of paganism being that worship of one invariably involves you in another and another. Flypaper of the gods, tar babies, in-laws, persons who came to dinner and stayed, flies buzzing in greasy smoke. Hermes the third, guest, parasite, thief, bird-headed baboon, green man, bastard of the moon. Then they begin exchanging masks, cross-dressing and adultery. Sin divinizes. By definition, they do what thou shalt not. Leering in at every window, incest, sodomy, impure food, poisons, kidnappings, raptures, continual drunkenness. For instance, a pond and willow scene through a moon window, faced by Archimboldo. Rebus, peering fawn. And that's the magic of dirty windows, as Freddie the Pig used to say. Windows etched with frost like acid glass in a 19th century Dublin pub. I'm not going to go over 45 minutes, all right? Will that be okay?
Don't worry about it.
Okay. This is an actual sonnet. And it's for Carolee Schneemann, whose name, the great artist, Carolee Schneemann, whose name, in case you never realized it, means snowman. Cling to winter, don't let winter go. From gelid woods where time is running slow. Discolored porcelain shards of rotten ice, the archaeological remnants of the snow. I dream I'm one of a gang of selfish giants, hoarding up all narratives like nuts and port. What prince of spring could resent this frozen garden, boarded up like some bankrupt Nordic resort? Perhaps we should spend our summers in Patagonia, Antarctic whalers lost in the seventh clime, in insulated igloos musty with sleep, away from the migraine pulse of vacated time. Exiled till autumn, wanderers and rovers, and not come back till Club Med freezes over. This is for Ivan Goll, the Pope of Surrealism. Ivan Goll, a now forgotten poet, was appointed by Apollinaire to succeed him as the Pope of Surrealism, and André Breton stole the position. So I've always considered myself a Gaullist surrealist, and this is for him. Oh, by the way, during the war, he came to Brooklyn and settled there, and was known to many bohemians in New York at that time, including my dear late friend Judith Molina. A politique of the marvelous demands conceptual brosilians of Neolithic Weltwald, a black forest stretching from the Altai Mountains to Altoona, PA, through which democratic shamans and self-chosen chivalric elites can collide with the bright lightning-like flash known as triboluminescence of struck quartz pebbles or Arthurian knights. Forget Marinetti's plan to bomb the museums. We propose the waters of Lethe, balm of short-term memory loss, bottled in crystal flasks that sparkle spontaneously in the dusk. Eau de Lotus.